the panel from Hell for Grimforge has concluded, and along with it, we got a ton of information on patch 6, which is currently out right now for all of you Steam players. Larian was having trouble launching the Stadia update, so we're going to have to stay tuned for more information on that. This is going to be a quick form video, once again, not taking me a ton of time and effort to put together. I just want to make sure I go over these patch notes, because I just don't have a lot of time right now if I want to play the patch myself to really do a high quality video like I typically do. So let's jump right in. You can see these patch notes on Larian's Steam page or the Baldur's Gate 3 page under the community tab, or if you're signed up for Larian's Gazette on their email list, you can see them here also. So there's a host of major changes that have come with patch 6, and a lot of these are very exciting. In the background of this video, I'll have the trailer for patch 6 playing so you guys have something to look at. So patch 6 is called Forging the Arcane, and it's Larian Studios' biggest patch to date. Even though they said this about a previous patch, apparently they didn't stay true to that, which is fine because we got a ton of new content, and I definitely think it's worth having bigger patches if it means more content for us. So the major changes in patch 6 are the addition of the Sorcerer Class, a new region called Grimforge. We have lethal new weapon actions, a huge graphical overhaul, new orchestra music, which might be the most hype out of everything, and there's just a ton of new content to explore, whether that's cinematics or just walking around the new area. I won't get too deep into the new area because it might be a spoiler for some of you guys. There's definitely going to be new cinematics that you'll find throughout the Underdark and the Druid's Grove, and there's also updated animations for Gith Yankee characters, which is really cool. And the game now has Turkish language support, not Turkish voice acting, but Turkish language support for all of you guys from Turkey. So obviously the major addition to this patch is the Sorcerer Class, and this class is going to come with 2 subclass choices, the Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer and also the Wild Magic Sorcerer. Both are going to be a ton of fun, especially the Wild Mage, so we can cast spells and not know what the hell is actually going to happen. Along with the Sorcerer, there are 5 new spells being introduced to the game. Horrific Visage, which is a tadpole action, and it makes your enemy bleed and allows you to leech a sorcery point for them. And sorcery points are something that's part of the Sorcerer Class that you get at level 2. Chromatic Orb is a new single target spell that lets you choose the element that you want to cast the spell at, which can be super powerful against enemies that are vulnerable to different types of elements. We now have Cloud of Daggers, which is a defense spell. Crown of Madness, which basically makes an enemy mad and can cause them to temporarily attack their nearby allies. And the last spell that we're seeing introduced to patch 6 is Enlarge and Reduce, which will alter the size of a character while also affecting their physical stats. So we have 5 new spells, which is pretty awesome to come along with the Sorcerer Class. Sorcerers also come with a class feature called Meta Magic, which they get access to at level 3, and all of your meta magic options allow you to twist and bend spells to better suit your needs, and these will be represented in their own box off to the side of the hotbar, and they of course work off of sorcery points, which is unique to the Sorcerer Class. Now back onto the topic of new weapon actions. Larian says that characters who are proficient in a particular melee or ranged weapon will now have up to 3 signature moves at their disposal. So before, each weapon type in Baldur's Gate 3 had one special ability associated with it, like the bow had pin down shot, the great sword had cleave. Now there's going to be 3 for each weapon. And Larian basically says that they did this to ensure that players will experience melee actions closer in line to those dreamt up during a tabletop D&D game, which may be true, but I think this more so appeals to players who come from games like DOS 2 that don't actually play D&D, because now you're going to have more options at your disposal, and if you're a DOS 2 player and you come over to 5th edition classes, they may feel a little underwhelming, especially at the lower levels, and this will spice it up a little bit. I'm very excited to test this out. It'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully it works in our favor and works pretty well and is balanced. At the very bottom of the patch notes, you can see we have Heartstopper, Weakening Strike, Crippling Strike, Pommel Strike, Piercing Strike, Backbreaker, Flourish, Concussive Smash, Brace, Prepare, Piercing Shot, and Mobile Shot. Just remember, you have to be proficient in the weapon to be able to use these abilities, so this should spice up the non-magical classes a little bit. So next up is Blood, Mud, and a huge graphical upgrade. The more that you venture forth with your party, the more your companions will become bloodied and muddied and bruised with each consecutive fight based on their HP. And Sven said in the panel from hell, the longer that you go without taking a long rest, the dirtier your characters are going to get. It's kind of a cool little addition to add some immersiveness, and we can see an example of Shadowheart and Astarion looking quite bruised and dirty. In terms of the graphical update, we have an improvement to Faerun's visual depth, implementing directional and volumetric lighting, and that was noticeable in the panel from hell. Larian has applied fresh color grading throughout, introducing new particle effect techniques, real-time clouds, atmospheric scattering, volumetric fog, and other visual upgrades that make the game look better than ever before. This was already noticeable in Larian's panel from hell stream, and that stream was kind of blurry because they were streaming on Twitch at 6,000 bitrate. We have a bit more information on the new area called Grimforge, and quick spoiler alert, I'll wave my hand when it's done, it'll be about 15 seconds. This area can be found at the end of early access after you sail across the lake with the Dwergar. That Dwergar looking camp is actually called Grimforge, and there's a ton of content in this area. It was really amazing watching Sven and Nick venture through it. I had no idea it was going to be this large. It's basically like an underground castle with a ton of verticality. Very excited for that. And then there's a host of other different changes. Another notable one is that Scratch the dog can now accept pets again. Druids will no longer be scaring away all the NPCs after they've dismissed their wild shape and try to venture into an area like the Druid's Grove. This was really annoying in patch 5 to have a druid in your party. Thankfully, this has been fixed. And perhaps the biggest gameplay balance change is that you will no longer get advantage from high ground, but you will get a +2 to your attack roll. So this is something that a lot of players requested Larian to at least try, and Larian's trying it, and I'm very excited to try this change. Advantage is going to have a lot more value for spells and abilities that actually offer advantage now, because Larian's not giving it out as easily as they did before. So I'm very excited to see how this works out. It's still going to be worth getting high ground because that +2 to your attack rolls is a noticeable increase, so make sure you keep getting that high ground even though you're not going to get advantage anymore. Now on to the more specific notes. Some of you guys might not care about this stuff because it might not be as major of an update as all the other things that we talked about, but some of them are pretty significant. You can now drag items in the trade menu. You can add bonuses after reroll. Updated the point and click frequency setting to a slider. This is something that I specifically asked for in one of my videos, because I click a lot when I play, and even with the decreased settings of point and click dialogue, my characters were talking all the time just because I click a lot. And it seems like Larian now has given us a slider so we can control exactly how much we want them to talk when we click on different things in the game. Added race tooltip. When a weapon is disarmed, overhead text is now displayed above the affected character. Concentration saving throws are now displayed via overhead roll UI. So all these little things that are definitely going to make the game more enjoyable. In terms of improvements and additions, Larian has refined some of the background goals in early access levels and added new ones in the Grimforge area. They've introduced a new goblin prison and updated most goblins to give them the ability to arrest you. How cool is that? Misbehaving players can also be jailed and break out of prison in the Druid's Grove too. So that's actually pretty significant. This isn't even minor stuff. Added a new prison, grate, and door where Gut locks the players up. The spiders in the goblin camp can now jump and escape their lair. That's going to make things a little bit more interesting. Player characters now always comment when they have successfully detected an ambush. So that's a nice little update. Speak with Dead has now been improved a little bit. There's updated automaton animations, improved animation for human female characters, which is something they talked about in the panel from hell, so it must be fairly significant. The Githyanki race, like I said earlier, now have completely updated gameplay animations. I have yet to see that. I can't wait to play patch 6. Hook horror animations have been improved. Wing and Tal physics have been improved for Cambions. There's just a ton of new stuff. It's actually pretty crazy. Volo's 4th book was added into the world. Consuming hag hair has become a lot more visual with added VFX. This patch is really big, and I didn't expect a patch to be like that. Again, reworked the visuals of the Zentrum wolves. Holy cow. I can't wait to check that one out, because Larian's wolves haven't been really up to quality standards as of late. And then, like I said, with the balancing changes, the update to the high ground rule where you don't get advantage on high ground. Lae'zel's approval requirements have been lowered for bedtime romance, so maybe we can finally romance Lae'zel, it took me about 450 hours to do Shadowheart. Larian made the Idol of Sylvanas valuable because it is valuable, so you'll likely be able to sell it for a lot of gold. They disabled the ability to ignite destroyed bulls via the use action. And that's pretty much it. The effect of Tasha's Hideous Laughter is now closer to the effects of prone conditions. Radiance of Dawn now targets enemies instead of non-allied characters. Player characters walking into the Blighted Village ambush while dialogue is ongoing will cause the character to be automatically added to the conversation. So a ton of new changes. Like I said, make sure to take a look at the patch notes. I'll leave a link below. Man, I can't wait to hop into patch 6 tonight. It is going to be so much fun. We have so much to explore. That's it. Like always, I don't know what to say at the end of the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this another off-the-cuff video to save me some time so I can actually play this game and make some other quality content. See you guys soon. Peace.